Welcome to our presentation. Okay, my name is Victor. This is my business partner, Denny. And we are the founders of Prime. So we run personal training studios in Shanghai and in Beijing. That's what we do for a living. And today I'm going to be talking to you about how to build a strong, healthy, sexy body. Now, I want to start by just explaining why did I choose this title? Specifically, why did I add the word sexy to this title? And I did that for two reasons, okay? Firstly, because I want your attention, okay? I know this is a bit of a holiday for you guys. You probably work really, really hard all through the year, and this is a little bit of a break. You can get out of the office, go and have a nice time. You probably had a nice, good party last night. I want your attention though this morning, because you might just learn something which is useful for you. And the other reason I included the word sexy in this title is because, in reality, that is the only reason Denny and myself can make a living doing what we do. It's because people want to look more attractive. And that is a fact. Okay? Sure, people like to be strong. Being strong means you can do very useful things like carry boxes, move your luggage, things which I'm sure really excite you. Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure all of you want to be healthy. That means you can work even more days of the year and miss even less time due to illness. I'm sure that appeals to all of you as well. No, the real thing people care about is looking good. Okay, I can assure you. Alright? That is the reason they come to us. So that's why I included the word in the title. Okay, now before I get into the substance of the presentation, I'll say a few more words quickly about who we are. Who's Denny, who am myself? That's the two of us doing a demonstration up in Beijing a couple of weeks ago. We were doing the opening event for our Beijing studio. And you guys probably don't know who Denny is, but I can assure you, in the international fitness community, this guy is very, very well known. We are here in the presence of a former world champion bodybuilder, the winner of the World Super Body Championships. Okay? In this guy's career, he's been a parachute commando in the French army. He has acted as the personal bodyguard for a lot of celebrities, including Celine Dion, Kobe Bryant, Mariah Carey, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I could go on and on. You get the idea though. You are in the company of greatness, okay?
Thank you, Victor.
Myself, I haven't done any of those things, okay? The only reason my background is relevant for today's presentation is I want you to understand I'm probably from a background which is more similar to you. I graduated from Oxford University in 1999, and I went into a very typical graduate career job. I went into finance, and I worked in finance for 10 years. Yeah, hard to imagine, right? Hard to imagine, okay? But I want you... So, I left finance about a couple of years ago to start this business with Denny. Why did I do that? Okay, I just want to explain this very quickly. Well, 10 years of doing Microsoft Excel, Jesus, it gets pretty boring, yeah? I'll show you. I never wanted to see another spreadsheet again, alright? But the real reason I went into fitness is because this has always been my passion. I've always been very, very interested in fitness and health. But working in a very difficult career job, working long hours each week for year after year, I was getting more and more disappointed with my own physical condition as each year went by. I was getting more out of shape, I was getting overweight, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. So I decided to quit my job and spend a year researching how to be in good physical condition whilst at the same time managing a busy career. I gave myself a year to find a solution to whether or not it's possible to put the two things together. In that year, I spent about 3 months at the National Institute of Fitness in Australia. I was doing 9 to 5 classes with some of the top fitness experts in Australia. I read every book I could find coming out of the USA in the last 15 years on fitness and nutrition. And I conducted experiments on myself. I did all manner of crazy things to myself. I starved myself for days to see what effect it would have. I tried eating just certain foods to see what effect it would have on myself. I did forms of exercise where I had to lift weights until I could literally no longer move. It was extremely painful stuff. And I did these experiments to find out what works and what doesn't work. Okay, you're very lucky because you don't have to torture yourself like this. You just have to listen to me this morning and believe what I tell you. Okay? All right. So what's the secret then? How do you build a strong, healthy, sexy body? By far the most important thing I learnt in my year of study is this. We are a strong, healthy, sexy animal. Okay, I've solved the problem. You don't have to do anything, you can look good just by existing. Now, what am I really talking about? What I'm talking about is we are just like every other animal in the world. Every animal has a natural set of foods which make up its diet, and every animal has to undertake certain activities in order to obtain those foods and to survive. It is the balance of consuming those foods which are part of its natural diet, and doing those activities to obtain those foods and to survive, which keeps the animal in a healthy condition, in its natural state. Our natural state is a very, very lean, athletic, healthy, dynamic being. That is who we are in our natural state. But of course, as you know, we are a little bit different from every other animal in the world. We're a little bit too intelligent, right? We've discovered ways to manufacture all kinds of different foods. We've discovered ways to save a lot of energy. We no longer have to use any energy to go out and get our foods. If I want to eat a piece of chicken right now, I don't have to go and chase a chicken, strangle it to death, go and cook it, and then eat it. I can just point to it on a menu and someone will give it to me, right? The balance which used to keep us in shape has been broken. And that is the biggest problem behind most people's health problems today. It's the balance which used to keep us in shape is no longer there. But before that balance was broken, how did we used to look? How did we used to look? I'm going to show you a photo now, okay, to show you how we used to look. Okay. Now, I couldn't get this in very good quality, and that's because this photo was taken more than 100 years ago. And you have to excuse me, this is very sexist. This is a photo of just the 3 adult males. I couldn't find a good one of some adult females to use. But I want you, okay, so this was taken of an indigenous tribe in Australia. These are people who are still hunting and gathering for their food and consuming our natural diet. And I want you to notice a few things about this photo. The reason I chose this photo is A, you can easily see we are looking at strong, healthy people. The other reason I chose this photo is because, judging by the hair, we're looking at 3 different generations of human beings, right? Looks to be like maybe a guy in his 20s, maybe another guy could be his father in his maybe 40s, and another guy maybe a granddad who's maybe in his 50s or 60s. But what is amazing about this photo, if you look at the physique of these guys, there is almost no change as they get older. Look at this granddad in the middle. He's still got visible abdominals, okay? And he's 50 or 60 years old. How many grandfathers do you know now who can still have abdominals? Okay? But this is us in our natural state. This is how every single human being used to look. This is not abnormal. This should be the norm. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. This guy's crazy. I know what you're thinking. Okay, this is all very interesting, Victor, but I don't really want to have to live in a jungle to enjoy being in this great natural state you're talking about. I want to live in my nice home. I want to go and eat in nice restaurants, go to nice parties, and so forth. Okay, I understand. So what I'm going to try and do this morning is try and explain how we can apply the lessons we know about how our ancestors used to survive to modern life. In particular, I'm going to look at how we used to eat and how we used to have to move. Okay, I'm going to look at those two things, all right? Starting off with how we used to eat. Okay, all right. I want you to look closely at the foods on this slide. This is our natural diet. Okay? We've got up on the board now, we've got eggs, fish, meat, we've got fruits and vegetables, and we've got nuts. We've got 6 types of food. Okay? Now for 2 million years, when we existed as hunter-gatherers, that's all we ate. Those 6 types of food, nothing else. Okay? That is our natural diet, also known as the paleo diet. Okay, paleo is short for Paleolithic, which refers to the 2 million year period of history when we existed as hunter-gatherers. Okay, now I know again what you're thinking. Where is the ice cream? Where are the condiments? Okay. All right, I know you work for Unilever, and these things are very important to you. Okay, but our message here is not that you can never eat any other type of food. Okay, what we try and advise our clients, though, is that your health, your fitness, and your appearance are going to be in their best condition if you stick as closely as possible to our natural diet. If you stick to these foods 90% of the time, it doesn't really matter if 10% of the time you're eating whatever you like, okay? But if your diet looks nothing like that, if you're just eating completely unnatural foods all of the time, you're really going to struggle sooner or later, okay? Because that's the foods our bodies are designed to eat. Okay. Yeah. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Okay, so that's a very important point. Okay, we only discovered how to harvest grains about 10,000 years ago. The Egyptians were the first civilization to do large-scale cultivation of grains, wheat, barley, oats, those sort of crops. For the 2 million year period of history before that, we did not consume any of those products. Nowadays, grains make up the majority of the world's diet, and that is a huge shift, okay? I'm going to talk about a little bit about why that is not optimal from a perspective of human health and fitness, okay? Now, in terms of the paleo diet, I could talk about this for hours. In fact, my wife knows I talk about this for hours every day, so today is just another normal day in the life of Victor Rouse. Okay, but I'm just going to focus on 2 points which are very interesting to note about the paleo diet. One thing is, this is a low carbohydrate diet, okay? If you look at the foods on this screen, you've got eggs, you've got fish, you've got meat, you've got nuts. These are 4 types of food with virtually no carbohydrates in them at all. They are just proteins and fats. Okay? The only 2 types of food we used to eat which are naturally rich in carbohydrates are fruits and vegetables. But if you can imagine when we were existing as hunter-gatherers, fruits were only actually in season for maybe 3 or 4 weeks of the year. We didn't have global logistics systems bringing us like, bananas from the Caribbean or oranges from California. wherever you existed, you could only eat the fruits in the area you were. And that means fruits were only in season for maybe 1 month of the year. So in fact, we're down to only one type of food, vegetables, which is part of our natural diets, which contain carbohydrates. Okay, vegetables are also a balance of carbohydrates with fiber and some protein as well. If you add that all together, what it means is that our natural diet was probably only 20 to 30% of our calories came from carbohydrates. That's a very low figure by modern standards. Modern standards where our diet is dominated by grains, bread, rice, pasta, noodles, dumplings, like these staple foods are extremely rich in carbohydrates. Now, you can survive, you can get energy, of course, from carbohydrates or from proteins or from fats. That's all fine, but they have quite a different impact on the body. Okay, in the next slide, I'm going to show you a very interesting study which was done, one of my favorite studies, okay? Right, so this study is pretty dated now. It was actually done over 50 years ago, but it was showing the impact on weight, that's all they were doing, from consuming 3 different types of diet. So you had one group just eating pretty much fat, one group pretty much eating only protein, and another group only eating carbohydrates. And all they did is measured the results on people's weights. Okay. Now this sort of study has been repeated many, many times since then, and the results are almost always the same. I'll just give you a few more seconds to have a look. What is pretty incredible is that these 3 groups of people were consuming the same number of calories per day. The groups of people were pretty inactive. They're not engaging in a lot of exercise. I take it you're still discussing the results of this study. But what is incredible is that this group at the bottom, who are eating only carbohydrates, which is actually more or less a pretty close approximation for how the average person eats nowadays, they're gaining weight despite the fact they're consuming the same amount of food as the other 2 groups. How is that possible? Now, the full answer would take a long, long time to go through, but I want to simplify it a lot and just explain the impact of the body of carbohydrates in terms of insulin. Insulin is a very, very important hormone. Every time the human body consumes carbohydrates, your body produces insulin to take sugars out of the blood system. Insulin is also known by biologists as the super hormone. It is so powerful. It controls so many of the reactions which take place inside the body. One of the most important things which insulin does is it completely prevents the body from using fat as a fuel source. That means, for as long as your body is digesting carbohydrates, you cannot lose weight. You cannot burn any fat. If your diet is high in carbohydrates, it is extremely likely that over time you will put on weight because your body is just continually producing the hormone insulin. Too much insulin is, of course, also related to a disease known as diabetes. If your body is producing too much insulin, your body becomes resistant to it. You're producing too much of it. So actually, if you look at the history of the human population, the problems of obesity and diabetes appeared in our population at exactly the same time. They appeared in our population 10,000 years ago for the first time when we started to harvest high carbohydrate foods. That was the first time either problem existed in our history. Okay, and it's the reason why the 2 problems are so closely linked today. They're both related to this very powerful hormone, insulin. Okay, So that's the first point I want to explain to you about the paleo diet. Our natural diet is a low carbohydrate diet. When we switch from a low carbohydrate diet to a high carbohydrate diet, it is very easy for us to start putting on weight, particularly if we're living an inactive lifestyle. Okay? That's the first one. The second thing I want to explain about the paleo diet is that those natural foods are the ones which deliver the most nutrition per calories consumed. They give you the most bang for your buck. You're getting the most out of those foods, okay? And I'm just going to show you another slide to demonstrate. Okay, I'll just give you a minute to look at this table. What this table is doing is comparing whole grain bread to a few fruits and vegetables. I've chosen broccoli, spinach, and tomatoes. And I've taken 10 of the most important vitamins and minerals for ensuring human health. Okay? This is a side-by-side comparison of the 4 types of food. Pretty interesting. Okay, now, I hope you're all discussing the table very excitedly. Okay, if I can just get everyone's attention, okay. Now, I'm not a dietitian by background or a nutritionist. Seems to be a very popular slide, okay. What this is telling you is fruits and vegetables are a lot more nutritious than grains, okay? I hope you can see that just from these numbers. The first time I put this table together, I didn't believe it. I thought I got the numbers wrong. So I had to go and do it again. You can check them yourself on any nutrition website. Okay, all right. I think this slide's attracted a lot of attention, which is obviously great. If I can just get everyone's attention again. Okay, so just to summarize where we are so far, okay? I've explained to us that we are a naturally very lean, athletic, dynamic, very attractive animal. That's who we are. There's 2 aspects to what kept us in such great shape. One is our natural diet, and the other is the activities which we used to have to perform. I've just given you a bit of information about our natural diet and what makes it so special in terms of keeping us lean and healthy. It is a low carbohydrate diet and it is an incredibly nutritious diet. You cannot get better foods compared to the paleo diet. Okay, right. So now I'm going to go on and talk a little bit about what activities we used to have to perform as hunter-gatherers. What activities kept us in great shape? Okay. Now this is a piece of analysis put together by an American author named Mark Sisson. Okay? And what Mark Sisson does, he has spent probably the last 25, 30 years analyzing our ancestors, analyzing the lives of hunter-gatherers, and looking at their diet, and looking at their behavior, and breaking down their activities. Okay? And he came up with a very useful way of summarizing the important activities which we used to have to undertake. And he put it into just 3 categories to make it very simple. Sprinting, not running, not jogging. We're talking about running as fast as you can, sprinting, okay? Lifting heavy things, and moving frequently at a slow pace, okay? I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through each one explaining what Mark is talking about in terms of each one. It's talking about the benefits of undertaking each type of activity and how we can try and build it into our daily lives, okay? Now, the very good news, in my opinion, from the analysis Mark has done, is that the amount of intensive activity which is implied, the amount of really hard exercise which we need to do to keep us in shape, isn't actually that much, okay? As hunter-gatherers, we weren't trying to expend energy all the time. That would have been inefficient. We were actually trying to save energy most of the time. So when we did do, when we were physically active, it tended to be for short periods of time and at a high intensity. The rest of the time, we were just moving around slowly, okay? So let's just start by looking at it. Moving frequently at a slow pace. As hunter-gatherers, we spent a lot of our time gathering vegetables, gathering nuts, gathering fruits, moving from one place, finding water, and bringing water back to where we were camped. A lot of low-level activity, okay? Now, Mark suggests that we should be trying to get around 2 to 5 hours of this sort of low-level activity into our weekly routines, okay? Now, in my opinion, that should not be difficult. We're talking about here about half an hour per day of walking, okay? Now, hopefully, you guys are already doing that. If you don't, I really want to encourage that you do, okay? If you don't get any walking into your daily routine, or you don't cycle or anything like that, try and walk during your lunch break. Try and walk to work. Get your subway. Get out the subway one stop before where your office is and walk the rest of the way, okay? This is really quite important to ensure the normal functioning of your limbs and to ensure the normal functioning of your heart and lungs. Okay, which reminds me, all of you are probably getting a little bit too sedentary. I want everyone in the room to stand up. Come on, everyone, stand up. You've been sitting too long. Okay, good. Touch the ground. Everyone reach down, touch the ground. Yeah, you can do that. Okay, now stand on your chairs. Get up on your chairs. Stand up on your chairs. Yeah, come on, you can do it. Up on your chairs. Yep. Up on your chairs. Come on, I can see you. There's a few of you not yet on your chairs. Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone. Sit back down. Sit back down.
That's it.
I bet you all feel more awake than you did 30 seconds ago, right? Movement is necessary not just to ensure the smooth functioning of our limbs, it is also important for the brain. Okay? The brain does not like to just be seeing the same images for hours and hours and hours a day. So if you find that you're sat at your desk staring at the same screen, the same wall for just hours and days, get up. I'm sure you're supposed to have a health and safety break every 45 minutes or something. Get up and walk around your office. Do something. Okay? Now, I think this part, moving frequently at a slow pace, most people find that pretty easy, and it's not that difficult to build into your daily lives, right? The next two parts, I may have a little bit of difficulty convincing you, okay? But I'm going to do my best. So, what else did we used to have to do? We used to have to lift heavy things, okay? If we killed an animal, we'd have to carry that animal or drag that animal. When we found water, we would have to carry water back to our campsite. We would need to carry wood, stone for building shelter for firewood. We would have to lift each other all the time. We have to pick and carry heavy objects all the time. The guys like Denis and myself, we enjoy lifting heavy objects, alright? That's kind of, I kind of like that, yeah? Big piece of iron, lifting it up, yeah, I feel good, yeah? Why should a normal human being want to lift heavy objects? So that's what I want to try and explain. And I'll try and make the answer very concise. I'm only going to talk about two things. One of them is muscle and one of them is bone. Okay? Now, lifting heavy things is a bit like being able to speak a foreign language. It's something you use or you lose. Okay? Because what happens to the human body after the age of about 25 is that if you don't lift anything heavy, your body will start to lose muscle and start to lose bone density every year for the rest of your life. Okay? That's a very important point to understand. If you don't lift anything heavy, your body will lose muscle and lose bone. Okay? But, and there's even medical terms for those two conditions. Sarcopenia is the condition where your body is losing too much muscle. Osteoporosis is what we call it, when your bone density gets so weak that you can barely stand up. Okay? What's really, if I can just get your attention, what's really sad about these two conditions is that we never used to suffer from them. If we go back to looking at my favorite grandfather in the world, this guy in the middle, this guy doesn't look like he's lost any muscle or any bone in his life. It's not because he's done anything special. He has just continued to be active. He's continued in his life to lift heavy objects. Okay. If we don't lift heavy objects and we lose muscle and bone, the body becomes much more likely to suffer an injury. Okay? Because your joints are getting weaker. Your posture gets worse. The reason our elderly are scooped in a bad position is because they haven't kept themselves physically active. Not only that, but muscle gives the body shape. Going back to the word sexy I put in the title, okay? A large part of that is maintaining our body's muscle mass, because muscle is what gives the body shape. Muscle, trust me, looks a lot better than fat does, okay? So it is important for everyone to lift something heavy. Now, I know as well, very few, a lot of you are girls, and it's very hard for us sometimes convincing girls that they need to lift weights, okay? But there is one heavy object which I can guarantee all of you have with you all of the time, which you can lift whenever you like, and that's your own body. And this morning, we're going to be doing, after this presentation, we're going to be doing a workout showing you just how to use your body to do a workout, okay? And this is important because I know some of you hate the gym. You're never going to go to the gym in your lives, but even if you hate the gym, you can still keep your body in good shape just by doing body weight exercises, okay? And that's something which I really do want to encourage you to do and do on a regular basis. For those reasons I was talking about before. I'm talking about maintaining your body's muscle and maintaining your body's bone density. Okay. Last thing I'm going to talk about is sprinting. Okay. That means running as fast as you can. All right, put your hand up if you've done a sprint in the last month. Oh dear. Okay. There would be times as hunter-gatherers where we would literally be running for our lives. Okay? I want you to imagine a big, scary animal running after you and you trying to escape. We're not talking about jogging slowly to get out of the way. We're talking about running for your life as fast as you can, okay? And this is an activity which also is extremely important for the maintenance of human health because it puts immense pressure on our cardiovascular system, on our heart and lungs. Now, for some reason, it is a lot more common, it's a lot more popular for people to do steady, slow sort of endurance cardiovascular exercise. So you often have people who do, they'll go on a half-hour run, or a half-hour swim, or a half-hour cycle, and that's okay, and that will also have cardiovascular benefits, but nothing is anywhere near as effective as sprinting. Because I just want you to think about it. If you can do an activity and keep that activity going for half an hour or 45 minutes, the activity by definition cannot be very intensive. If it was intensive, you wouldn't be able to sustain it for very long. Sprinting is something you can only do for 20, 30 seconds, okay? After that, your heart and lungs simply cannot get enough blood, enough oxygen to your muscles to sustain it. So it has incredibly big impact on your body and in maintaining the health of your heart and lungs. I'm going to show you another study now, which was done a few years ago in Canada. Okay. Now, this was a really, really important study in the fitness world because of its findings. What this study did was it took a group of students at McMaster University in Canada, and it made these students do a fitness test. It made these students cycle for 30 kilometers, and it measured how long each person took to manage to do that 30 kilometers, right? Then it put the two groups onto different types of training, okay? One group was doing sprint training. They would be doing 30-second sprints, 4 30-second sprints 3 times per week. So in fact, they were doing a total of 6 minutes of exercise per week, you know? So 4 times 30 seconds is 2 minutes. They were doing that 3 times a week. They were doing 6 minutes of exercise per week. And the other group were doing more traditional cardio. So they were cycling for a long time, 75 minutes, and they were doing that 3 times a week. So this group was doing about 4 hours of exercise per week, and this group was doing 6 minutes. At the end of 4 weeks, they got the two groups together and they made them do the same test. They made them cycle 30 kilometers and see how long it took them. And what they found was actually both groups had improved by the same amount. Okay? I want you to think about that. You have one group exercising for 6 minutes per week and another group exercising for 4 hours per week. But this study showed that the impact on the human body, the impact was the same. Okay, that's a pretty extraordinary finding, which is showing us sprinting is a lot more time efficient in terms of improving your body's cardiovascular system. Okay, so that's another really important concept I just wanted to explain to you. Right, we are reaching the conclusion of this presentation. Just to summarize where we've gone, how we've arrived here. I've explained to you what a fantastically attractive, powerful animal we are. I've told you what made us such an impressive animal, and it's a combination of our natural diet and performing certain types of activities. If you can maintain that natural diet, or at least stick to it 90% of the time, and perform these activities on a regular basis, you can really capture the same qualities which kept us in great health for 2 million years, okay? And the recommendations which we put to are actually not that, they don't take that much of your time, okay? On this board I've written sprinting for less than 10 minutes of duration per week. And if you remember the study I showed you, those cyclists were only doing 6 minutes of sprints per week, and they maintained an awesome cardiovascular condition. And we're talking about lifting heavy things 1 or 2 times per week. And we're going to show you in a minute how we can do a workout just using your own body weight. I was just coming to that, so any questions?
Okay. How about swimming comparing with sprint?
Also very good. Also very good. But if you're going to do swimming, I would also encourage you to try and do some fast swimming, okay? So instead of just swimming at a constant pace for like half an hour, 40 minutes, imagine there's a shark. Imagine there's a shark chasing you, and see how fast you can swim. Okay? That's a good question. Are there any other questions? I'm happy to take questions from you, any of you. Yep.
How long exercise help to lift my fat?
Good we get this question actually every day.
Most effective exercise you can do daily.
I'm going to have to give it my same boring answer, okay? Which is, first of all, in terms of reducing body fat, this is best addressed using both diet and exercise together. Actually, diet is probably more important than exercise in terms of losing weight. In particular, trying to maintain a low carbohydrate diet is going to be extremely important in terms of reducing body fat. In terms of what exercises are useful, just the ones we are talking about here. We're talking about doing some high intensity cardio, like some sprinting or some fast swimming, and we're talking about using some weights to maintain your body's muscle mass, okay? That's what I'm going to say. Any other questions? Good? Okay, do you want to say anything?
No?
Okay, awesome everyone. Thank you very much for your attention this morning. Okay. Alright, so I think we're going to take a short break and then we're going to get you down onto the beach and we're going to torture you. Okay? Alright.
Very good.